Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome back to another awesome video, and it's time for another top 10 video. And for today's top 10 list, just I figured I'd do this just because in a little way, sort of ish, because after I kind of watching Spider-Verse just a little bit and sort of all sorts of speculation going on, not speculation, but rumors, stuff like that. Um I wish this was requested, but I figured this is something I should put up on my channel because why not? I really loved Into the Spider-Verse. It was one of my favorite movies of that year. Uh, One of my favorite Spider-Man movies now that I've saw it, I think twice, maybe three. I'm not sure. But anyways, still a great film. Still love how it was made. Maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe I'll review it one day. We'll find out. We shall see. But so today's top 10 list, I just for today's top 10 list will be the top 10 ideas for an Into the Spider-Verse sequel, because Sony and Marvel have been talking about maybe doing another Spider-Verse too. I mean, doing another Spider-Verse, doing a sequel, obviously. So it makes sense to kind of think of what ideas could they add to the sequel. Maybe some things that they can make it different, some things that they make it interesting. Go into different territories, who knows what, who knows when, who knows where. But we can get some ideas of what can we can possibly see in this sequel. And we'll discuss some of those here, and we shall see what happens. So for this list, I'm gonna look at some ideas I think I want to see in the Spider-Verse sequel. And if you got any other suggestions, let me know in comments on what you think. What do you think of Spider-Verse? What do you think should be in the sequel? What should not happen or should happen? I honestly, for some reason, at one point when I first saw this movie, I was like, I feel like this is not gonna get a sequel when it should or shouldn't. But then I was like, you know what? It makes sense because Spider-Man is a beloved character. It's a beloved kind of franchise almost at this point, but he is a beloved character for many reasons and everything. So my thoughts on what I think could possibly happen, what I would like to see happen, what could happen, who knows, whatever the case may be. Let's just jump right into it. Starting with number 10. Oh, by the way, just in case I do run into some spoilers for Spider-Verse, I'm spoiler warning in case I do say something about Spider-Verse that people are like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know this person was here, or there was that character, or that happened. So I'm going to throw that out there. Spoiler warning, just in case you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend watching it. Pause this video, go check it out, and then maybe come back here, or at least something. I don't think I'll spoil too much, to be honest. I really don't think so. But just in case, better be safe than sorry. So, number 10, let's talk about the Sinister Six. Number 10 is the Sinister Six. Now, I know in the first Spider-Verse, if you want to call it, we sort of got a Sinister Six in a way with the Spider-Men, the Spider-People fighting what looked like the Sinister Six. So so we had Scorpion, we had Prowler, we had like a lady Doctor Octopus, there was Green Goblin, there was sort of kind of Kingpin, and then Tombstone, which kind of which kind of, I guess they didn't say they were the Sinister Six, but kind of were six villains. So I think they didn't technically clarify this is the Sinister Six right here, but maybe we could see the Sinister Six somewhere in the sequel as a part of the antagonist of the sequel. Maybe what you could do differently is have each member of the Sinister Six be from a different universe. So maybe you have Doctor Octopus, but he's from the year 2099. Maybe you have Mysterio, but he's from Spider-Man Noir. Also different universes. Maybe have a universe where Kraven the Hunter was a genetic mutation of like an animal freak show thing. I don't know, crazy like things like that. Maybe have Electro be like a living electricity, like how he is in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. So I think that'd be kind of cool. One member of each Sinister Six villain is from a different universe, kind of having a different variety and kind of having each universe pulled out would be kind of cool. It could be explored if we keep going through the different multiverse and through the different universes. And with the Sinister Six, it doesn't matter who you put in that team. It's definitely the definite basic thing is that these are six villains that despise Spider-Man. They want to get rid of him, whether it be Peter Parker, whether it be Miguel O'Hara, whether it be Noir, whether it be Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, whoever it is, they want to get rid of Spider-Man. They're basically a group of villains that want basically the same thing. They have a common threat, and they decide to basically align forces with each other in order to take out a common foe. So, seeing how it's kind of like an even Steven score here, maybe we won't see all the spider people that we saw in the first movie, but I think it'd be kind of interesting not only to see the Sinister Six, but also to kind of have like Miles Morales tackle these guys, because I've never seen him tackle the Sinister Six before, and I know it's not going to be any different. It's probably gonna be the same situation that Miles would be in as Peter Parker was whenever he fought the Sinister Six, where he would get beaten up, he would probably get thrown around, trashed on, and beat the crap out of, and stuff like that. But it'd be different. It'd be interesting, especially how Miles' unique powers can definitely benefit him against these types of foes. Number 9 is, I can never say his name. I can never say this character's name, but Leopardon. Leopardon. I can never say that. I can never say the thing's name, but he's a giant. Apparently, he's a giant, like Megazord, like Power Ranger thing. But it's from this old Spider-Man Japanese show that they did years ago, like in Japan, like in the 70s or something. And there's this one character that they have is this giant like Megazord spider thing. It's like a leopard jaguar sort of thing. It's like the Spider-Man show's got like a Power Ranger vibe to it almost. So therefore, it being from Japan, they're like, hey, we got to have our giant Megazord like robot thing, Voltron, whatever. But people are rumoring that could maybe show up in the multiverse, and that this thing could be cool, and especially with the fact that he's showed up in recent Edge of the Spider-Verse comics. And Edge of the Spider-Verse is definitely one of my favorite Spider-Verse stories, definitely one of my favorite Marvel comics, definitely my favorite Spider-Man comics. I picked up one, thought it was a fantastic read. So I think this would be kind of interesting, and maybe you could kind of, seeing how Spider-Verse poked fun at a lot of the Maguire movies and a lot of the other films before it and everything, I think it'd be funny to kind of poke at some of the stuff that Spider-Verse forgot to leave out, because it talked about how Spider-Man had his own merchandise, had his own backpack, launch boxes, all sorts of nonsense, pointless crap over the years, and became oversaturized throughout time. So I think it'd be funny to kind of poke fun at, like, oh yeah, and then there's that Japanese show, which was, I don't understand what was that about. And maybe somehow now you have this thing from another universe, and then Spider-Man's like, wait, that did happen? Oh shit, okay. So I don't know. Plus it'd be kind of cool, I guess. A lot of people are gung-ho on it. I've seen a little bit about that, so why not? Number 8, all 3 Spider-Man. Now what I mean by that is, at one point, I think it'd be fantastic if at one point we, in the Spider-Verse sequel, we have both Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland show up into the sequel. They were supposedly rumored to be actually a part of the original script for the first Spider-Verse, with Tobey Maguire being the Peter B. Parker sort of character, the slugged, sort of like chubby old, like let himself go Spider-Man. And I think Andrew Garfield was going to maybe possibly show up. Maybe it would have been Tom Holland, who knows. But I think it'd be great to have these guys, they don't have to be the same Spider-Man. They don't have to all be Peter Parker from a different universe. What you could do is kind of play with this idea and have them voice different Spider-Man. Maybe Tom Holland's, let's say, Spider-Man from, let's say, I don't know, Iron Spider, maybe. Maybe you could have Tobey Maguire be Spider-Man when he was maybe part of the Fantastic Four. Maybe Andrew Garfield is Superior Spider-Man or Symbiote Spider-Man, or a different Spider-Man. Maybe Tom Holland could be Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider. all sorts of ideas like that. So I think that you could play with that a little bit, and I think that'd be kind of cool. And it'd be a nice little nod that hey, these guys were Spider-Man, and that's what the idea was going to be originally, I think. And I'm definitely satisfied and blown away with the movie we got. But hearing what we would have gotten would have been better. I don't know, but seeing how there's going to be a sequel, here's opportunity to kind of throw these guys in there and maybe throw in some jokes about how their portrayals of Spider-Man. Maybe have the three of them argue about who was the better Spider-Man, hinting like, "Hey, like I'm better than you. No, I was better than you. I have a fan base. Well, I have a fan base too. We all have fan bases." And the different generations of different people that are very diverse on who's the better Spider-Man. Whether people are like, "Oh, I grew up with Tobey Maguire," or people are like, "No, no, 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 it's Tom Holland," or "Oh, you know what? Let's give Garfield some recognition." Whatever it is, you could have some laughs, you could have some heart to it. Definitely a lot you can definitely explore with it. Number 7, new Spider-Man. With new Spider-Man, obviously, I wouldn't mind seeing Spider-Man Noir. I wouldn't mind seeing the Peter Parker we got, whichever Peter Parker. I wouldn't mind seeing Spider-Gwen. I wouldn't mind seeing Spider-Ham. Spider-Man I got a kick out of. Even what was her name? Penny Parker or something like that. That one anime Spider Girl. I can never. I forget her name. I think her name's Penny. Penny Parker. Like that sort of like make fun of Japanese anime like chick, spider chick. So, not that I wouldn't mind seeing those guys again, but let's face it, it'd be great to see some of the other Spider-Men that are in the Spider-Verse because there's other Spider people out there. There's a Spider-Man where he's like Man Spider. Like Peter Parker, instead of becoming Spider-Man, he's literally mutated as this freakish spider freak thing. Like he still wears the costume, but it's like he's got the mandibles like a spider. He's got the 4 arms and everything. It's totally really cool. You can maybe have something like that. You could have Superior Spider-Man, or really, I like that Spider-Man. They're talking about obviously having Miguel O'Hara, possibly Spider-Man 2099. Maybe you can have another universe Spider-Man where he still wears the symbiote suit. Maybe you could have Amadeus Cho. Maybe you can have the clones from the cloning saga, the different Spider-Men, the different spider people that are cloned from Peter Parker. So like Ben Reilly, there was Kane. So maybe characters like that, different spider people that sort of join this roster, and it adds more diverse to the lore, and it adds more things that the public may not know about Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, because the Spider-Verse was a thing before Into the Spider-Verse was a thing. Before that Into the Spider-Verse movie was a movie, there were comics about Spider-Man and the multiverse and all these other things, and people don't know about that. The regular public people don't know that. But as comic people, we already know this stuff, sort of thing, in a way. So it kind of brings new faces, new characters, new ideas for the public to sort of see and maybe kind of get interested in. I mean, people like Spider-Ham, and that was kind of a very cheesy, like perfectly cartoonish Spider-Man. And look at that. And I still, and I've never said this before, but I still like to always look back and say how, in movies in general, how the fact that we have a talking tree and a talking raccoon as our favorite heroes, I feel like anything could be possible in some aspects. Some. Number 6, Spider-Man 2099. Not only do I want to see Spider-Man 2099 like Miguel O'Hara, because that's the guy who is Spider-Man 2099, because this is like in a way, way, way far future where I don't know if I don't remember if Peter Parker's dead. He might be dead, but at this point he probably is, or he's at least old. He's got a family. He's probably got someone. He's given up Spider-Man. So there's this Miguel O'Hara. He's a Hispanic guy. He's got Hispanic background, so definitely get that diverse culture going on. He's definitely got he's a unique Spider-Man with how futuristic his suit is. It's not like spandex, it's like a liquid like symbiotic thing almost. Like weird Stark, like almost like weird like Superior Iron Man, like Stark tech almost, kind of like the Extremis from Iron Man 3, something like that along those lines. is kind of how the suit works. There's also like instead of regular web, it's like or it's not organic web fluid, or it is organic web fluid that 2099 used. He's got like rockets. He's got gliders. He's got all sorts of crazy tech in there. He's got like a sort of like a Jarvis in his suit, like a female Jarvis. All sorts of crazy things with 2099, and obviously Spider Verse teased a credit scene of Miguel O'Hara, and it was Oscar Isaac. Poe Dameron himself from The Force Awakens, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, voiced Miguel O'Hara. So there's definitely potential there to be like, hey, you know what? We could get Oscar Isaac to probably come play Miguel O'Hara for the sequel. And not only do I want to see Miguel O'Hara, but I'd love to explore 2099 because that's always been a cool feature I've wanted to see on a big screen in terms of Spider-Man, Spider-Men, Spider-People movies. Because 2099 is definitely a really cool future. It has that very like it's got like this really cool futuristic sort of it's got really cool like a utopia. At the same time, it's got like an edgy sort of dystopia to it. Definitely a lot things have changed for our characters. We got in that universe. There's a female Captain America. There's a different Venom. There's Punisher, who's no longer Frank Castle. He's pretty cool. I like that. There's the something happened with the Hulk. There's also the stories involving 2099 that I could talk about. There's Green Goblin and Hobgoblin, the Goblins, obviously, again, Venom, stuff like that. So it'd be a really cool future to explore, and especially seeing how maybe you can make it a dystopian future. And Miguel O'Hara basically tells Miles that, hey, you know, whether this is going to be your universe or not, you could still somehow change this no matter what. And I think that'd be kind of interesting to kind of go into the idea about still going with change, not going with change, but go with the idea about a future and what you can do to sort of save it, what you can do. And I think what can really kind of bring this to a sort of grit is the idea of that what can you do and what can't you do? Like, let's say there's some things in the future you can't change. No matter what happens, you can't change it. And no matter how many times you go back and try and change things, it will maybe still be the same in the future. So definitely brings this to a little bit of a grit. And I think 2099 is the perfect world to have that grit. Alrighty, we're narrowing down a final 5 on my list. Now, number 5 is more Spider-Women. And I'm not saying anything wrong against the Spider-Men we've seen, but it seems like the sequel might have to do with more Spider-Women. And that kind of gets me a little interested because not because of anything sexist or anything feminist or anything like that. I just seriously think there's so many Spider-Women out there that have great stories to tell. Not only is there Spider-Gwen, there's Jessica Drew, how she's been an agent for S.H.I.E.L.D. and did things for Hydra, all sorts of stuff like that. And there's that whole thing, there's Secret Invasion with the Skrulls, those shape-shifting aliens that we've seen in Captain Marvel. She had a whole thing in that, whether Jessica Drew was a Skrull or wasn't a Skrull, whatever the case is. There was Julieta Carpenter, who I like from the Iron Man 90s cartoon. I've mentioned before, Ariana, I think her name is Ariana. No, it's Arana, like Spanish for spider. Like, she's a really cool chick that's got like, she's definitely unique. She has very like a lot more flexibility. She's got this unique sort of suit to her that it's like a scarab on her back that transforms her suit with weapons and all sorts of things that are equipped with it. So there's her. There's a universe where Mary Jane Watson, who became Spider-Woman. There's Petra Parker, who's a female gender bend Peter Parker. All sorts of things like that. There's definitely room there. Silk, people love Silk. Spider people, like not Spider people, but Spider fans, Spider-Man fans, and comic people are familiar with the Marvel comics, familiar with Silk, are throbbing about Silk. Maybe we could see someone like very cosmic, like Madam Web, which would be kind of cool. So there's definitely room for there, and it sounds like this could be the way to go. So there's an idea, and it sounds like they probably will do this. And who knows? Maybe we could see other characters like Black Cat. Maybe we'll see Silver Sable. Who knows? So there's definitely potential for maybe this being I think they said that it's going to be a sequel or a spin-off. But if you got Spider-Gwen leading the team, sounds pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. Number 4 is Venom. I think we've always seen the dynamic in comics and in movies and in video games, the dynamic of Peter Parker and Eddie Brock. Doesn't matter which Venom we see, whether it's Eddie Brock, whether it's Flash Thompson, whether we see Matt Gargan being Scorpion, Flash Thompson being Peter Parker's bully, later on becomes Agent Venom, whatever the case may be. I've kind of been interested in the idea of Venom, whichever Venom, interacting with Miles Morales, especially that there's a kind of a connection. Sort of. It's a little bit complicated, but there's a thing that Miles Morales has called the Venom Blast. I don't know if that has anything to do with Venom himself, but there's sort of ties there. And I think Venom, whether he's from our universe, whether he's from a different universe, I think it'd be cool to bring Venom into this sort of thing. Bring in maybe like the different symbiotes. Maybe we have Carnage. Maybe we have there's other symbiotes that are out there like that's offsprings of Venom, or not offsprings. Yeah, offsprings of Venom. So like there's been not Agent Venom, Anti-Venom. There's been a universe where Peter Parker got the symbiote suit, but it's not. But like not the well, he did get the symbiote suit, the Venom suit. But at one point in another universe, Peter Parker gets like this Anti-Venom suit symbiote, which is at one point crazy long story, semi short. Eddie Brock here at one point had cancer, and they basically took the symbiote suit and reversed the colors. So instead of seeing, let's say, black suit with white spider, it was reversed. So picture a white suit, black spider. It was pretty cool. I loved the run because it made Eddie Brock a villain again. He wound up going after Matt Gargan, who was wearing the Venom symbiote. At one point, I think in that other universe, that Anti-Venom symbiote at one point came on to Peter Parker, kind of making him evil, I think, calling him poison, I think it is. I'm not familiar too much with the Venomverse, but there's definitely some cool things you can do there. So I think it'd be cool. Plus, Venom is just a classic Spider-Man villain. So it kind of somewhere the symbiote is gonna appear somewhere in this sequel or somewhere down the line of this Spider-Verse, no matter what. Number 3, Wolf Spider. So Wolf Spider is not a comic book Spider-Man character, but he's not canon that I'm aware of. But I think this would be a cool character to explore. So at one point there was Disney XD that did a TV show called Ultimate Spider-Man. And it did okay. It had some good episodes, it had some bad episodes. It's better than the new Spider-Man series. It's better than the Spider-Man cartoon that we have now, which I will just maybe discuss another day, and then that's a whole thing. But anyways, so at one point, the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon wind up going into the multiverse. So we saw Spider Knight, we saw different Spider-Man, we saw Spider-Man Noir, we saw 2099, we saw Miles Morales, we saw also the different Spider characters show up through this universe. There's Ben Reilly. Once again, there was a character called Kane, and then they made up a character called Wolf Spider. And so Wolf Spider was kind of like this evil Spider-Man that was trying to basically destroy the multiverse. And it did have an interesting payoff a little bit, but it wasn't explored really deep enough, because what they did was Wolf Spider he was like very ominous, very shadowy. He was a badass. He seemed really cool, how cloaked and sort of mysterious he was. And the reveal was that he was revealed that he was basically an evil version of Peter Parker. So the fact that So obviously everybody knows the Spider-Man is that Uncle Ben dies. He always gets, no matter what happens, Uncle Ben dies in any multiverse, in any version of Spider-Man, any version of Peter Parker. But with this Wolf Spider, evil Peter Parker, when Uncle Ben got shot, basically Peter Parker became vengeful. He became more of a villain. He decided to kill the man that murdered Uncle Ben. So instead of becoming the Spider-Man that we all know that does the whole great power, great responsibility, Wolf Spider took it in a murderous way and said, you know what, I'm going to screw that sort of responsibility and just murder the guy because I lost this one family member of mine and the sort of trust I had with him, the bond I had with him, and the relationship. And he was like a father figure to me and how broken he was. Not only, I think, would this be cool to dive into, sort of go through that tragedy of what can happen, looking yourself in the mirror or sort of thing. It's like, oh my gosh, seeing myself like in another universe where I'm evil and how that could affect me. Wow, like the different outcome that could have happened, how I could have ended up like him. But not only that, but I think what you could do with this character is you could pull what I want to call, you can make this guy like Marvel's version of Owlman. Now, real quick, I'm gonna talk about DC. So DC has their multiverse. It's a lot more expansive, but DC has a multiverse. So with their multiverse, there's one Earth in particular where the Justice League are considered villains. They're known as the Crime Syndicate. So Wonder Woman is Superwoman, Flash is Johnny Quick, Superman is Ultraman, Cyborg is known as the Grid. Different names they have, but they're villains and they're evil and stuff like that. They're dictators. They've kind of taken over the world. They kind of sort of that sort of thing. And specifically about the Crime Syndicate is Batman is known as Owlman. But here's the thing. It's not Bruce Wayne. It's in another universe, Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne had two sons, Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne Jr. Thomas Wayne Jr. murdered his own family and murdered Bruce Wayne. But whatever the case is, whether that's the Crisis on Two Earths story, like origin story for Owlman, or the Forever Evil story for Owlman, one thing that's been consistent with this villain is that he finds his existence in the multiverse meaningless, because out there in another universe there could be a version of him where he was good. There's another outcome where he's looking at the different outcomes of what happens, and that, okay, instead of maybe us humans being evolved from apes, maybe we evolved from reptiles or fish, or maybe fish came on the land and we never walked the earth, or maybe he got together with somebody, or maybe he didn't get together with somebody, like kind of got engaged or fell in love or not fell in love. All the different outcomes and the infinite possibilities, because infinite Earth means infinite possibilities out there. So Owlman thinks that his existence is meaningless. So basically, he would destroy the multiverse and basically commit suicide. So by destroying Earth 1 or Earth Prime, he'd be wiping out the entire multiverse, including his Earth. And he wouldn't care, honestly. And even if he died failing to destroy the multiverse, there would be another version of him that would try and do the same thing again. So I think you could kind of take those little elements about Owlman and make them and apply that into Wolf Spider, because you could kind of make this guy a little more complex and a little more interesting and make him a lot more better than he was done in a 30-minute episode of a Spider-Man cartoon, and make it a lot longer, where it's an hour or 2 hours, because obviously a movie is longer than a show, so you have more runtime. So you can maybe add these little elements of the idea that he knows that there's other spider people in the multiverse, but he finds it meaningless. So he wants to wipe out the multiverse so he can be the only Spider-Man there is, to be the only Peter Parker, because he knows there's other Peter Parkers out there. You could take this idea of he wants to destroy the multiverse, whether he destroys his Earth in the process or not, the idea that he wants to be the only existing Peter Parker, the only existing Spider-Man, and the only do that is to wipe out the multiverse, to destroy anything possible, anything necessary. You could definitely really put in a message if you really need to about a villain like this, especially with how relatable and sympathetic Kingpin was in that movie, and especially since they took inspiration from Netflix's Daredevil, how well you can relate to that Kingpin and the fact that he was a family man, and the fact that he wants to save his city, and he sees what's wrong with this world is bad, while everyone else is kind of blinded by basically the light in a way. not to reference a Springsteen song, but still, everyone's blinded by this hope a little bit, while Kingpin's thinking, you know what? I don't see this as a hopeful thing. This is not good. So maybe you could make Wolf Spider have this sort of like, there's definitely a lot more complexity, but make him a lot more, not only just interesting, but maybe there's a little more sympathetic to this villain. Make him a relatable villain where you see that what would be scary about this villain is that you could see yourself doing the exact same thing he would. Number 2, the Venomverse. So at one point, I don't know when in comics, but there was a whole big series of comics and novels known as the Venomverse, where Venom had not necessarily ruled the universe, but like I forgot that there's like this symbiotic king or Venom like dude that he has a cape, has a red spider, he's got like long hair. I don't remember his name, but all I know is that he became like king of like this universe of one Earth, and in that said Earth, he had everyone be venomized, which meant like okay, every single person that lived like us human beings, and our superheroes and stuff like that became symbiotes. So you had Iron Man was venomized, Hulk was venomized, Spider Man, Captain America, Daredevil, even villains like Thanos. There was Storm, who's not a villain but still Storm, Rocket, Groot. Everyone was venomized in this whole huge Venom universe. This could be cool. I'm not gonna lie, not the most interesting thing to put into a Spider Verse sequel, but could be cool. But the one thing I think that would really be interesting is I want to say about specifically with Miles Morales and that Venom sort of dynamic, because this is going to come back to what I'm going to try and say about Venom and the dynamic with him and Miles Morales, is whether this is from the Venom universe, like the Venomverse, or not. I really want to see the Boss Logic did a fan made poster of Into the Spider Verse. It looks like a classic Spider-Man comic, but it has Miles Morales on it, and it's like the very classic Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man comic, but it's Spider Verse. It's Into the Spider Verse, and it's Miles Morales. But I think somebody else took Boss Logic's comic, or Boss Logic took that fan made comic and also made it Venomized. So there's like this big, really awesome. Oh, I wish I had it on me. I wish I could kind of show you guys. But the edits on here on YouTube suck. I'm sorry. I can't do so much on here. Which I'll talk about after the video. But back to the whole Venomized Miles Morales. It looks so awesome. I want that to be a sequel where Miles Morales has the symbiote suit. He looks so awesome. It looks so intimidating. It looks so good. I wish it was a thing. And it made me hyped about an idea of like, could this be our sequel, the Spider-Verse? Maybe this could be our darker sequel. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what they could do with it, but I like this idea. I want to see this be put on the big screen. Maybe someone out there is knows what I'm talking about. I hope Boss Logic knows what I'm talking about. So I think that'd be really, 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 really awesome, honestly. But before we unveil my number one pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Let's go down from bottom to top. I'm looking at my list on here. Mysterio. So with Mysterio, I don't want to spoil too much about Far From Home, but so the idea is that Mysterio is from another universe. He's from another universe, so they say. But whether he's from another universe or not, maybe this could be our open, because in Spider-Man Far From Home, Mysterio's character, he says he's from another universe, or so he says. But whether that's the truth or not, maybe this could open up the idea of we seeing more, and we'll get to that later. So yeah, the Cloning Saga. The Cloning Saga was a Spider-Man comic where at one point, I think this was before Peter Parker died. Yeah, this was before Peter Parker died, and this villain known as the Jackal cloned Spider-Man. And it doesn't have to be the Jackal; it could be Green Goblin, it could be whoever. But the point is that there's a villain that created clones of Spider-Man, and they each were different in each own way, tying to somehow coming back and circling to possibly Miles Morales. And I think that could be cool. The Venomous Rex. I've seen people talk about it, and if we're gonna get this Leopardon Leopardon thing, I think it'd be cool if this robot Megazord thing clashed and fought the Venomous Rex. And how cool would that be as an animated villain? Well, not villain, but a monster. That would be awesome. And how giant it'd be, too. Scarlet Spider. Circling back to the Cloning Saga, Scarlet Spider was one of the clones that was made. Ben Reilly is that Scarlet Spider, although there was another Scarlet Spider. But still, I think Scarlet Spider could be a cool addition to the team. Maybe make it a little more edgier. Maybe add something different. This is a clone that literally once he realizes he's a clone, what you could do as a message is figure out his existence. What is the point of his what's his purpose? He knows he's a clone. He no longer thinks that he's brainwashed thinking he's Peter Parker. So now what does he do? He needs to figure out who he is inside. Iron Spider. Iron Spider would be cool. Whether it's we have Peter Parker's in the Iron Spider armor, like how in the not in the movie Civil War, but the comic Civil War, Spider-Man was on Team Iron Man, and he had like this Iron Spider costume, one that's red. It's like a metallic maroon. It's got yellow and gold to him. So there's that. I think that'd be cool. Or he maybe introduced Amadeus Cho, who took that spider suit and became Iron Spider. Silk, I already mentioned Silk. She's definitely really cool, interesting Spider-Woman. Really interesting design. There's something about her design. I don't know why. And that name, Silk. I don't know why. Something about it. Jessica Drew, I've talked about already. She's a Spider-Woman that was a Spider-Girl or Spider-Woman before Spider-Gwen. Not a lot to really put in there. She definitely has really cool things to add. Like I said, she was a SHIELD agent. She was, I think, at one point working for Hydra. Not that you have to bring the whole Marvel universe into this anime movie, but there's definitely some really interesting things you could do with Jessica Drew, especially for the MCU. Symbiote Spider-Man. So I would like to honestly see a universe where Peter Parker's kept that symbiote suit. See how different he is, because you could see because the thing was with the original comics was obviously Peter Parker got rid of that suit. What if he didn't get rid of that suit? And I like what if concepts. What if that could be a what if? What if Peter Parker didn't give up that symbiote suit? What if he ended up? Would he have ended up like Venom? Would he have been as murderous as Carnage? Would he have gone down a darker path? Would he be a villain? Would he give up being Spider-Man? What would have been the situation? Superior Spider-Man. I've thrown out Superior Spider-Man as a name, but some of you probably might not know. But real quick, I'm gonna say how this is really weird, but it's kind of interesting weird. Where this is a universe where the villain Dr. Octopus took his subconscious and put it into Peter Parker's body. He put his mind into Peter Parker's body. Why? I'm not sure, but it was really cool. It was a really cool run where he's got this really awesome red and black Spider-Man suit. I love when red and black clash together. It's really awesome, pretty badass. It's kind of interesting if you give it a read. Definitely, and this could be an interesting Spider-Man to have to the team. And it'd be kind of funny to explain. Be like, wait a minute, so you're my arch nemesis who's now in my body? That's kind of weird. Like, you can do a little, good awkward humor, because sometimes awkward humor can be a little bit bad. So I don't know. But besides the humor, there's definitely a really cool arc with that. And then where Octavius is a Spider-Man, the fact that he has a change of heart, and to see with some of our villains be a change have a change in heart, sometimes makes it more relatable and gives us more like, oh, that's nice. Like to see this guy who was once evil now see his change of ways. That's how well Once Upon a Time, the TV show Once Upon a Time, did so well on how, changing your destiny, changing your fate, stuff like that. That's why people love the fact that Loki basically sacrificed himself knowing that he was a hero rather than a villain. Stuff like that, sort of those situations. So you could do the same thing for Dr. Octavius. Boom. But my number one pick, my top 10 ideas for a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel is a live action universe. I think this could be awesome, especially since there's that sort of idea that maybe Mysterio could be from another universe. And I don't want to say I don't want to say that he is exactly from another universe, but you gotta keep your eyes open on Mysterio a little bit in that movie. But whether he's telling the truth or not, I think at one point, if we could somehow get these spider people into the Marvel universe, into the MCU, and see Miles Morales, and see Spider Gwen, and see 2099, and see Noir, and see Superior Spider-Man, see all these different spider people, man spider, whoever spider, doesn't matter, different spider people in this Spider-Verse happen, would be awesome. We can get really good actors that maybe play our Miles Morales and Spider Gwen. Maybe you could have the voice actors play them. That'd be nice. How cool would that be? I forgot having the actress who was Spider Gwen in the live action verse have the voice actor who was Miles Morales do the same thing. He would have to just shave because he's a little bit older, but still, I think that'd be awesome. Honestly, even if they don't cast those guys, it'd be really cool to sort of start seeing the Spider-Verse in this MCU and start exploring the multiverse and seeing how that's where we're going with the MCU, with Doctor Strange exploring the multiverse of madness, with the What If. I know the MCU is not tied, to Marvel's What If, but there's still that idea that it's done by Marvel Studios, one. And two, you could do some what ifs things, like they're exploring that multiverse. The Quantum Realm could possibly explore the multiverse, and Spider-Man could at one point explore the multiverse. And I think it'd be cool to sort of see that happen, especially since Tom Holland's been excited to bring in some of these characters. They teased Miles Morales being a possibility with Spider-Man Homecoming having what's his name? I know his name. With having Donald Glover be playing Miles Morales' uncle. Oh, I forgot his name. Oh my gosh. Oh, I forgot the character's name, but he later becomes Prowler. He's also Miles Morales' uncle. So with Donald Glover being that possible sort of hint at not only having Prowler, but maybe we could see Miles Morales. All those different ideas. Tom Holland wants to sort of go into that direction. He says he wants to stay as Spider-Man as long as he wants to, even if it means until he's like, let's say 40, which would be kind of crazy. Have like an old man, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, whatever they're gonna do. But because he wants to do like he wants to do like up to 10 years or 8 years of a contract or something crazy like that, whether he was kidding or not. Sounds like there's a lot you could explore, and you could do a Spider-Verse somewhere down this line and bring it to the MCU. Maybe that doesn't have to be the sequel exactly, but at least we can see that possibility happening. Maybe if it's just a brief, quick cut scene, kind of like that one part in Weirdmageddon of Gravity Falls when Dipper and Wendy are jumping through the bubbles and they're going through different universes, and there's their live action counterparts. So there's that. Maybe you could do something brief like that into the Spider-Verse too, with having that brief moment of like, there's their voice actors as the live action counterparts. So I don't know, but I want to see this happen, and especially there's really great casting out there. Heck, a while back I would have wanted to see Donald Glover as Miles Morales. Maybe you could get someone like Tyrell Jackson Williams. Maybe you could get Tyrell James Williams. Whatever the case is, I think there's definitely potential there. You could get Chloe Grace Moretz for Spider-Gwen. Some people might say Dove Cameron. I say Chloe. So there's definitely potential out there. Hopefully, we can get these characters in this Spider-Verse, in this MCU. Who knows where the MCU is going to go with Phase 4 and, well, after Phase 4, I should say, and where it's going to go beyond, like with Phase 5. Supposedly, the rumors that we'll see Guardians 3 in Phase 5, we'll see Spider-Man 3 in Phase 5, we'll see Fantastic Four in Phase 5, we'll maybe see Deadpool in Phase 5. So who knows what will happen afterwards? And even if that's the case, who knows? Maybe they will do it. Maybe they won't do it. But somewhere, I love for Marvel to kind of bring the Spider characters and bring more things to this world. And those are my ideas for Into Spider-Verse sequels. Let me guys know, what are some ideas you have for a sequel or anything you want to see in the next Spider-Verse. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please smash the like button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do awesome videos every day. I do awesome videos every day for a week. And make sure you ring that bell to be notified of new content. I don't know how far back I talked about this, but I did say about the editing, and I apologize for there's not been a lot of edits and not a lot of like stuff like that whatsoever. I try the best I can to make that possible. The thing is that YouTube it doesn't have a lot of editing, so I can't really do a lot of edits. I can't really put in, say, this footage here, or maybe put this there, or link this here, or put this here, or annotate here, or annotate there. But and even trying to find editing websites like Adobe, I can't find Adobe on my HP, Microsoft Chromebook, whatever this is, HP Chromebook computer. For some reason, it doesn't give me Adobe Premiere. Photoshop does not work really that well on here. And there's also the editing processes I could try, but they don't work as well, and they require a lot of downloading. And honestly, it's a pain in the ass. And I've discussed this before, and hopefully somewhere down the line, YouTube could either fix this or, well, it's most likely not gonna fix this, but hopefully I could get this fixed, maybe somehow find something. If you guys have any ideas, any recommendations, any suggestions on what I could use or could do as an editing software or anything whatsoever, let me know as well, and I'll look into it, and hopefully it'll work. And I appreciate your support and help in all this, but it's going to take a little while for us to edit. Me being a part of J&T Incorporated, and them over there, J&T Incorporated as well, over at his house, stuff like that. So there's that. Look forward to I don't know, to be honest, what I'm going to do now, but if you guys want to see like anything else, like if you guys want to see any reviews, any top 10s, any like movie reviews, any maybe TV shows, any like video game content, let me know in the comments. If you guys want me to do Q&As, maybe do a live stream, we'll do stuff like that. I'm also up for that as well. I don't got a lot happening this week. I might be having some plans, but I don't have a lot this week. So with that in mind, leave your suggestions, leave your thoughts down below. I'll look into it. And anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.